Welcome to Revenza Tales, where heart-stopping tales of betrayal and glorious comebacks keep you on the edge from beginning to end. Smack that subscribe button, ring the bell, and like this video to be a part of our revenge-seeking tribe. Share it with friends who want justice. Envision giving up everything for your family only to meet a betrayal so heinous it has the potential to break your world. What if the perfect facade of a loved one's fiancé hid a venomous plot that pushed you to plan a takedown no one could predict? Get ready for a tale of loyalty, deception, and a sister's fight to protect what matters most. It's going to be a wild ride. Lydia Harper, a 32-year-old wedding planner in Seattle, Washington, had a gift for turning dreams into reality. She designed flawless ceremonies by the Puget Sound, where the water glittered like hope beneath the city's drab skies. Her job was unglamorous, organizing roses, scheduling bridal marches, holding cakes upright, but it was hers. Single, childless, Lydia gave herself to her work and her little brother, Nathan, her anchor in life's storms. Their rain-drenched childhood in a town an hour east of Seattle was a fight against adversity. Their parents' acrimonious divorce had given them a mother who worked 3 jobs to put food on the table. At age 16 and Nathan 13, their mom was killed in a car accident on a foggy evening, a truck veering into her on a rainy highway. The loss devastated them, and with their father already gone, leaving behind debts and empty promises, Lydia took on a role as Nathan's anchor. She sacrificed her aspirations to secure his, pulling long hours at a diner, followed by a banquet hall, to keep them in business. Nathan, genius and charmer, landed a full scholarship to major in computer science at an elite university. Today, 27, he excelled in a high-paying tech career in Seattle, his bright smile intimidating anyone he encountered. Lydia was fierce with her pride in him. His achievement was hers after all those sacrifices. When Nathan announced his engagement, Lydia's heart expanded. She thought they had finally escaped their history. His fiancée, Abigail, was a fairy-tale bride material, a Juilliard-trained violinist with a dazzling smile and a tech tycoon father. Nathan waxed poetic about her generosity, her devotion to family, and her aspiration to create a life together. Lydia imagined Abigail settling into their close-knit world, spreading happiness to their hard-won stability. Their parents greeted one another on a rainy afternoon at a lakeside cafe overlooking Pike Place Market. Abigail was stunning, tall, with chestnut-colored hair and a smile that illuminated the darkened restaurant. Her parents, immaculate in matching suits, clasped hands warmly and bragged of Abigail's violin awards. They talked about her national awards, benefit recitals, and scholarships for underprivileged children. Lydia, high school graduate among high-flyers, experienced a moment of self-doubt but set it aside. This was Nathan's time, and she wanted it to sparkle. Abigail's mother, voice as silky smooth as a smile, referenced Lydia's work at the banquet hall. "Would we be able to have the wedding in your location, Lydia? It'd mean so much to have you on board." Lydia smiled, flattered. "Of course, it's a beautiful place, waterfront, chandeliers, the works. I'd love to make it unforgettable." Abigail nodded, her eyes shining. "That sounds perfect, Lydia, thank you so much." Her father told Abigail stories of her violin successes, standing ovations, first-place awards. But he sneaked in a mention of a rival who regularly outshone her. Abigail's smile froze, her fingers clutching her glass tightly. "Dad, let's not talk about that," she snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. She swiftly moved on to the menu, her charm restored like a switch being flipped. Lydia didn't even see her, too absorbed in drinking in the thrill of the day. But coming back from a work call outside, rain drenching her coat, Lydia spotted Abigail stepping out of the restroom. She smiled, poised to thank her for the charming meeting. Abigail's face set, her eyes scanning over Lydia like she wasn't worth notice. "You're the high school dropout, right? Must be nice playing helper while the rest of us actually matter." Lydia froze, the words slicing deep, rain masking the sting in her eyes. Abigail didn't wait for a reply, brushing past her back to the restaurant. Inside, Abigail was all warmth again, offering Lydia a drink menu with a sweet smile. "Something refreshing, Lydia?" she asked, her voice dripping with false kindness. Lydia's gut roiled, but she told herself she'd imagined it, not wanting to dash Nathan's happiness. And that moment remained, a fissure in Abigail's flawless facade. The weeks leading up to the wedding were a blur of preparation, guest lists, flower arrangements, all-night emails. But they uncovered Abigail's genuine self. Lydia attempted to brush off that initial barb as a misfire, perhaps jitters at meeting Nathan's family. But during planning meetings, only the two of them in the banquet space or over coffee, Abigail's venom emerged. Her barbs were wrapped in smiles, biting yet understated, leaving Lydia wondering about her own eyes. Walking one morning through the seating chart with Seattle's skyline aglow through the windows of the venue, Lydia proposed seating Nathan's tech guys close to the band for vibe. Abigail smirked, reclining. "That's cute, Lydia, but you'd never get it. You never attended college, did you? No idea how actual events transpire." Her condescending tone hurt, and Lydia clenched her pen, concentrating on the chart to conceal her pain. Another day, selecting bouquets, Abigail sighed dramatically. "If you devoted less time to other people's weddings, perhaps you'd have a life." "Oh wait, high school was your highlight, wasn't it?" She smiled, eyes frigid, challenging Lydia to shoot back. Abigail enjoyed bragging about her Juilliard degree, her awards, her moments in the spotlight. "I was always the center of attention," she'd say, flipping her hair. "Unlike you, mired in a dead-end job." Every insult stung more because Lydia had been a pianist herself, good enough for a music conservatory scholarship overseas. She'd practiced until her fingers screamed, hoping for concert stages. But when their mother died, she swapped keys for shifts to help Nathan, something that she kept a secret. Abigail did not need to know her history, and Lydia would not fight for the spotlight. She had mastered extinguishing her own flame for those she cared about, but Abigail's heartlessness was fraying what was left of her. "She's everything, Lydia," he'd say, eyes alight. "She wants kids, a home, all of it." Lydia forced smiles, swallowing the pain to protect his happiness. But each meeting with Abigail left her raw, dreading the wedding she was tasked with perfecting. The day before the event, Lydia was testing the venue's sound system, adjusting a microphone behind a curtain. She overheard Abigail's friends whispering in the dressing room nearby. "Did you hear Abigail's dating someone else?" Someone whispered, low voice. "Some club guy, she's only marrying Nathan to make her parents happy." Lydia's heart crashed, her hands suspended over the mic, the betrayal slicing through her like a knife. She froze, the pile of Abigail's deceit threatening to topple everything she'd struggled for. Lydia's heart pounded as she hung paralyzed behind the curtain, the mic cable sliding from her shaking hands. She wanted to march out, accost Abigail, but her feet seemed stuck to the ground. "Nathan doesn't know," one of Abigail's friends whispered, her tone hushed and catty. Lydia's breath stuck, the hurt she'd heard about Abigail's infidelity searing like an open wound. She needed evidence, something concrete, before destroying her brother's world on his wedding day. The ceremony was mere hours away, and Lydia was conflicted, stuck between protecting Nathan and protecting his fantasy. The wedding day broke, and the Seattle waterfront banquet hall sparkled like a postcard. There was twinkling fairy lighting that swung from the ceiling, white roses on each table, and the Puget Sound glinting outside. Lydia ought to have been enjoying the wonder of Nathan's wedding day, her planner work in full blossom. Her stomach churned with foreboding instead from the muffled rumors of Abigail's betrayal. Lacking concrete proof, only snippets of a conversation, she couldn't bring herself to inform Nathan. She immersed herself in her work, double-checking table settings and coordinating with caterers, attempting to outrun the discomfort. As the bride's sister, Lydia could have called in sick for the day, but she had to be there, even if it meant staying in Abigail's shadow. Guests were arriving in luxurious dress, giggling over champagne, as the ceremony went off without a hitch. Abigail glowed otherworldly in her lace dress, her violin case at her side like a badge of her honed image. Nathan was by her side, beaming with adoration, oblivious to the tempest roiling under the surface. Lydia was in the dressing room, retouching makeup, when the moment she dreaded broke over her. Abigail grabbed the microphone during the ceremony, voice shining but laced with venom. "Let's get a special performance from Nathan's sister Lydia, at the piano," she declared, her smile as wide as faces turned. Lydia's heart dropped, the room whirling as all eyes fixed on her. She'd never informed Abigail she played piano, a secret buried with her old aspirations. In Seattle, she was merely a wedding planner, her musical life abandoned years ago. Abigail was to play a violin solo later, according to the agenda Lydia had carefully set. This piano trick was not on the agenda, it was a trap. Staff rushed to unfurl the grand piano, its highly polished top shining beneath the chandeliers. Lydia stood transfixed at the family table, her hands trembling, her mind in overdrive. Abigail moved over, her clasp firm on Lydia's arm as she tugged her towards the stage. Come on, Lydia, she spat, low, speaking only to her. Don't spoil my moment. You will be sorry.
What do you think you are doing?
Lydia whispered, fighting to keep her tone even with onlookers.
This was not intentional.
Abigail crept closer, her breath like a knife to Lydia's ear. I enjoy seeing you squirm. You're just a high school dropout who fancies herself someone.
Let's watch you bomb spectacularly.
Her words hurt, but she wasn't done. Oh, and incidentally, I'm only marrying Nathan to get my parents off my back. I've got a real boyfriend on the side. Play or I'll rat on you to my dad, and Nathan's tech job is over.
Your turn, Lydia.
Lydia felt an icicle run down her spine, Abigail's admission validating the overheard rumors in a chill moment. The threat to Nathan's career, a job that was connected to Abigail's father's tech industry, fixed her in position. The piano was waiting, its keys shining under the gentle lights, as the audience whispered in anticipation. Abigail's grin was smug, sure she'd played Lydia's public embarrassment. But Abigail didn't know Lydia's history, the flame she'd suppressed with years of dedication. Lydia took her seat on the bench, her fingers quivering, not from fear, but from a spark within her flaming again. Abigail believed she'd created a trap, but she'd underestimated. Lydia had concealed her talent for years, but now it was over. She breathed in deeply, her fingers tracing over the keys, and started playing Clair de Lune, a piece ingrained in her since childhood. The notes began softly, fragile, then built, flooding the hall with a soaring, strong melody. The audience became silent, entranced, their champagne flutes abandoned as the music cast its spell. For the first time that morning, Lydia felt alive, taking back a part of herself she'd kept hidden for Nathan's benefit. When the last note died away, the room exploded into applause, her colleagues wiping away tears, awed by her talent. Abigail's face froze in shock, her cheeks red, her control disintegrating. Nathan, by the stage, smiled widely, pride glinting in his eyes. Before he was able to speak, one of Abigail's friends gasped, pointing at Lydia.
Is that Lydia Harper?
The pianist from the London Conservatory? She was a legend on the competition circuit. Abigail's eyes went wide, her composure shattering like thin ice.
What?
She stuttered, her voice betraying panic. Lydia rose, her voice steady but firm, boosted by the nearby microphone.
That's me.
I attended London until I returned home to care for Nathan after our mom passed away. I never said it, Abigail, because I didn't need to upstage you.
But it appears you cornered me. The room hummed, feeling the undertow of tension.
Abigail's companion, unaware of the tempest, continued speaking. Lydia Harper, you won all the major piano competitions. You were the competition Abigail could never match at Juilliard. The shock was like a thunderclap, guests murmuring as the pieces came together. Abigail had mocked Lydia for months, not realizing she was the child prodigy who had surpassed her in every competition she boasted about. The banquet room hummed with tension, the atmosphere charged with shock as Abigail's friend spoke and revealed her. Lydia waited by the piano, her heart racing, not from the playing, but from the truth now standing before Abigail. She was Lydia Harper, the pianist who had haunted Abigail's history, and the illusion was fading. Abigail's cruelty, her insults, her affair, her threat, had set afire Lydia couldn't help but notice. Abigail's eyes flashed, her smile erased, replaced by a desperate edge. That's rubbish, she snapped, too loudly, attracting more attention.
She's lying to sabotage my wedding.
But the crowd wasn't swayed. Lydia's performance was too perfect, her past too inescapable, her friend's recognition too sincere. Nathan moved forward, his brow furrowed, feeling the room change. Lydia knew this was her moment to expose Abigail before she could twist the narrative. She pulled out her phone, her hands steady despite the adrenaline pumping through her. Let's clear this up, she said, her voice carrying over the microphone. She'd started her voice recorder app when Abigail cornered her, a habit from years of handling difficult clients. She hit play, and Abigail's voice, sharp, cruel, unmistakable, filled the hall. I'm only marrying Nathan to quiet my parents down. I have an actual boyfriend on the side. If you don't play, Nathan's job disappears. The words hung there, harsh and incriminating, as guests gasped, their whispers resolving into shocked silence. Abigail stunned, her face going pale, her eyes wide with alarm. Nathan's face changed from confusion to betrayal, his eyes fixed on Abigail. Lydia's heart hurt for him, but the truth was out, and there was no turning back. I'm only marrying Nathan to shut my parents up. My real boyfriend is on the side. If you don't play, Nathan's job is history. Gasps spread through the Seattle banquet hall as Abigail's recorded voice rang out, raw and undeniable. Her parents, sitting near the front, stiffened, their faces pale under the chandelier's light. Nathan hesitated, his jaw clenching, his eyes burrowing into Abigail as if discovering her anew.
No.
Abigail cried out, jumping for Lydia's phone, her lace skirt flouncing wildly. A staff member intervened, putting her in front and holding position with a firm but serene stance. She's acting. She's not really. Abigail's voice trembled, her well-composed veneer cracking. The tape looped, her previous words playing. When I look at you, I just want to make you squirm. The hallway grew quiet, all the guests transfixed. The Puget Sound outside mirrored a darkened sky. Nathan's voice cut through, low and resentful. Is this true, Abigail? He did not wait for a reply, turning to Lydia, his eyes begging for resolution. Lydia, why didn't you tell me? Her throat constricted, her voice cracking. I didn't know how, Nathan. I wanted you to be happy. I thought I could get through to her until this morning when I eavesdropped on her friends. I had no evidence until today. Abigail's dad stood, his face red with anger, his voice thundering around the room. You're a shame, Abigail. You've embarrassed us all. Her mum cried silently, shaking her head, refusing to look anyone in the eye. Abigail turned on them, her voice pleading. Dad, please, I didn't mean it, I'm sorry. Her father raised a hand, his tone icy. You're no daughter of mine. Nathan stepped forward, his shoulders squared, his voice steady despite the pain in his eyes. We're done, Abigail. I won't marry someone who lies to me, who hurts my sister like this. He turned to Lydia, guilt softening his gaze. I'm so sorry, Lydia. I had no idea. Abigail collapsed into a chair, her sobs loud and messy, mascara streaking her face. Please, Nathan, don't do this. I can't be alone. She wheeled on Lydia, her voice desperate, near begging. Lydia, I apologize, all right? I was jealous, foolish. Please forgive me. Lydia gazed at her, the woman who'd belittled her sacrifices, her education, her very being. Pity rose, but it couldn't erase the months of cruelty. You mocked me for months, Abigail. You attempted to humiliate me before everyone. And you betrayed my brother. You don't cry your way out of this. Her tone was steady, but on the inside, Lydia shook with the burden of standing tall for the first time. Guests murmured, some leaving quietly, others regarding Abigail as if she were a fallen star. Her family members, faces pinched with unease, pushed her towards the door. Her cries echoed, begging to be forgiven by none. Nathan spoke to the audience, his tone strong but laden. The wedding's off. I apologize for the interruption. The hall cleared slowly, the party replaced by a stunned, heavy silence. Outside, the Puget Sound reflected the storm clouds building above. Lydia stood beside the piano, her fingers still tingling from playing, her heart raw but firm. She'd opened Abigail up, not just for Nathan, but for herself, for the years she'd allowed her own light to fade. After the destruction, the banquet hall seemed like a hollow shell. Wilting roses and half-eaten hors d'oeuvres littered the tables, the Puget Sound now cloaked in dusk. Lydia and Nathan sat in the empty venue, the weight of the day settling between them. I'm so sorry, Lydia, Nathan said, his voice thick with regret. I should have seen who she really was. You shouldn't have faced her alone. Lydia squeezed his hand, her eyes soft but steady. You were in love, Nathan. I didn't want to take that away from you. I imagined that I could withstand her cruelty. But hearing Lydia speak, Abigail saw just how much her jibes had wounded. Each put down, each smirk had chipped at the confidence she'd hidden to support Nathan. Busting Abigail wasn't merely about saving her brother, it was about reclaiming her voice. Word of Abigail's fall spread like wildfire in the weeks that followed in Seattle. Her parents, embarrassed by the public display, severed her ties to their wealth. Without their support, her career as a violinist suffered. Her own reputation had rested so heavily on their power. She worked at a coffee shop in the city, barely able to afford rent for a small studio apartment. The man she'd been dating disappeared when her family's wealth did, and she was left alone. Lydia didn't enjoy seeing Abigail struggle, but she didn't have sympathy either. Abigail had set her own trap, her deceptions toppling beneath the burden of reality. Nathan poured himself into his work, channeling his disappointment into his technology ventures. He worked through nights, his concentration refining with each week. 4 months on, he landed a promotion, his name circulating in technology blogs as an up-and-coming innovator. At Lydia's apartment, eating pizza by the window, sharing a meal at dinner, he smiled weakly. "I'm going to be okay, Lydia, thanks to you." His voice was lighter, his dreams resurfacing, and Lydia believed him. Nathan's strength had always been there, she just reminded him of it. For Lydia, the wedding's aftermath sparked a quiet transformation. Word of her Claire de Lune performance spread through Seattle's wedding circuit. Couples began requesting her to play at their ceremonies, drawn to her raw talent. She'd sit at the grand piano, Puget Sound sparkling outside, and play music she hadn't touched since London. Every note was like coming home, remembering her connection to the girl who dreamed of concert halls. She wasn't a wedding planner anymore, she was a musician again, breathing freely after years of restraint. Abigail's cruelty had driven Lydia to face her fears, her tendency to conceal, or rather, hide her talent so as not to overshadow others. At the piano that day, when she'd played and let the truth spill out, she ceased to shrink herself. She defended Nathan, their past, their life they'd struggled to create. And in doing so, she reclaimed the pianist she'd lost, the woman who could still make a room take notice. The moral of the story is that real strength comes from owning your truth, even when it's hidden under sacrifice for all those years. By standing up, you can defend the people you care about and take back the parts of yourself you believed you lost. Thank you for watching Revenza Tales, where real stories of resilience and justice are brought to life. Hit the like button, share your own comeback stories in the comments, and subscribe for more epic stories. Share this with friends who could use a dose of victory, and I'll catch you in the next story.